into Gabby Williams, got hit in the forehead, and it caused 2 black eyes. And you can still see some of the remnants of them, and now she's sporting the bloody lip. She is as tough as they come.
Oh, that's not just an injury. Or don't let them tell you this is just part of the game. What you're looking at is a receipt. It's the evidence of a debt being paid in blood. Because on September 5th, the Indiana Fever weren't just playing a basketball game, they were collecting. This was a revenge mission. Pure and simple. Lexie Hull's bloodied face wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a declaration of war. A war started the moment the league, the refs, and their opponents thought they could take out their superstar, Caitlin Clark, and the Fever would just roll over and die. They were wrong. And in this video, I'm going to show you the evidence that proves how Lexie Hull's warrior performance was the focal point of a calculated, brutal revenge plot that didn't just beat the Chicago Sky. It was designed to humiliate them, to destroy them, and to send a message to the entire WNBA. Stick with me, because this is the story they don't want you to know. To understand the fury behind the Fever's revenge, you have to understand the wound. You have to go back to the moment the heart of this team was ripped out. On September 4th, the news dropped like a bomb. Caitlin Clark's season was officially over. A persistent groin injury that she had been fighting since mid-July had finally won. The team announced she was being shut down for good. The hope that had kept fans on the edge of their seats for weeks just vanished. And in her own words, you could feel the heartbreak. The sheer frustration of a warrior being told she had to stand down.
Clark released a statement saying this: "I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with the singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling. I want to thank everyone who had my back through all the uncertainty. This has been incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there is good. The way the fans continue to show up for me and for the Fever brought me so much joy and important perspective. I am so proud of how this team has only gotten stronger through adversity this year. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot in the playoffs."
Disappointed isn't a big enough word. That's the pain that fueled the revenge. Every single player in that locker room heard that message and knew what they had to do. This wasn't about just surviving anymore. It was about fighting for her. It was about making every opponent pay for what she had lost. But the conspiracy here is deeper than just one injury. The story the front office is selling is that they just ran out of time to get her back safely. Head coach Stephanie White admitted the frustration, talking about the endless work Clark put in just to have the calendar run out. They want you to see this as a tragedy of circumstance, a case of bad luck. But you have to ask yourself, how much bad luck can one team have? It wasn't just Clark. Sophie Cunningham was out for the season with a torn MCL. Sydney Colson, down with a torn ACL. Ari McDonald, a broken foot. Chloe Bibby, dealing with her own persistent knee issues. That's not a team with injuries. That's a MASH unit. It feels almost orchestrated, doesn't it? A team that was getting too much attention. A rookie that was changing the league suddenly finds itself completely decimated. They were left for dead. The league wrote them off, and that was their first mistake. Because when you corner a team like this, you don't break them. You give them a reason to burn the world down. And at the center of that fire stood Lexie Hull. Her story doesn't start with the bloody lip. Oh no, that was just the climax. This has been building for weeks. It feels like opponents have had a target on her back, seeing her as the embodiment of the Fever's toughness and deciding to test it. There was an elbow from Kayla McBride. Then came the collision with Gabby Williams that left Hull with a hematoma, blood pooling under her eyes to create 2 gruesome black eyes that she wore like a badge of honor. Her own teammate, Sophie Cunningham, texted Caitlin Clark asking, "How concussed is Lex?" after seeing the damage. The players see what's happening, even if the league refuses to. Which brings us to Chicago. Hull walks into the game already looking like she'd been through a war, sporting 2 black eyes that had gone viral. And then in the first quarter, it happened. Hull drives to the basket, and Camila Cardoso catches her right across the face. No call. The refs just swallow their whistles as Hull comes up bleeding from a split lip, and that's when the mission became clear. On the sideline, Caitlin Clark, the leader who was forced to watch in street clothes, absolutely exploded. She screamed at the officials, her voice cutting through the arena noise. She's bleeding. She got hit right in the face. That was it. That was the moment. That was the cry for justice that her teammates would answer on the court. It was no longer just about winning. It was about retribution. And what better target for revenge than a team in complete and utter chaos? The Chicago Sky were the perfect victims, because they had already destroyed themselves from within. While the Fever were unifying around their fallen star, the Sky were imploding. Their so-called superstar, Angel Reese, was suspended for this crucial game. Why? She had criticized her own teammates and coaching staff publicly, telling a reporter she might have to move in a different direction and do what's best for me if things didn't change. As a result, she was suspended not just by the league for accumulating technical fouls, but she received an additional humiliating suspension from the Sky organization itself for statements detrimental to the team. Think about the contrast. One team is literally bleeding for each other, fighting for their injured sisters. The other team's star is quitting on them, betraying them in the press. The Fever had found their cause. The Sky had lost theirs. It was the perfect storm for a historic beatdown. And that's exactly what happened. This wasn't a game. It was an annihilation. The numbers don't lie, but they can't fully capture the sheer disrespect of this beatdown. The final score was 97-77, a 20-point blowout that completed a 5-0 season sweep. 5 games, 5 wins. But it's the margin that tells the real story. The Fever's complete domination of Chicago represents the largest point differential between two teams in a season series in WNBA history, with an average margin of victory of 24 points. That's not a rivalry. That's a public execution.
By my rough count, the Fever have beaten the Sky by 12,000 points in their 5 games this season. I'm not perfectly sure on that number, but it seems correct, as they smack the Chicago Sky yet again. Basically, you know, they've already been in a good playoff position, but cement a hold on a playoff spot. Mitchell, brilliant once again. Lexie Hull playing through a busted lip after she's played through black eyes, which came from the knot on her forehead, which, you know, is sort of exemplifies the Fever season, the way they fought through things. You got all players on crutches and carts before the game. Caitlin Clark, unfortunately, ruled out for the season. It makes you think what could have been, but what is a smacking for the Sky whenever they face them, and a playoff spot almost assured for the Indiana Fever.
A smacking for the Sky whenever they face them. He's right. This was revenge served cold, over and over again. Kelsey Mitchell dropping 20 points and 8 assists, Natasha Howard adding 18, balanced scoring from everyone who touched the floor. They played with a fury that Chicago simply couldn't match, because the Sky were a fractured locker room, and the Fever were a sisterhood bonded by sacrifice. This victory wasn't just another win in the standings. It was a statement that secured their control over their own destiny, virtually locking up a playoff spot that no one thought was possible after Clark went down. They didn't just survive, they thrived on the idea of revenge. But the numbers are just the what. The why is what matters. The why is Lexie Hull. After the game, with a busted lip and 2 black eyes, she became the living symbol of this team's new identity. She's having the best season of her career, posting career highs across the board, smashing her personal best for 3-pointers. But her most important contribution isn't in the box score. It's the mentality. It's the toughness. It's the willingness to sacrifice her body for the cause. When reporters asked her about the injuries, about the pain, she just smiled through the bruises. You don't need to be sorry. This is what it is. That's not a victim talking. That is a warrior. That is someone who has embraced the pain. weaponized it. She forgets about the bruises when she's playing, because the mission is more important than the pain. And what is that mission? She told us. In what has become the defining quote of this entire season, she laid the truth bare for everyone to see. She was asked about playing through it all, and she revealed the secret motivation, the driving force behind their revenge. She said that every day they fight for their injured teammates, embodying the team's warrior spirit. There it is, the confession. They are fighting for Clark. They are fighting for Cunningham, for Colson, for all of them. Every hit Hull takes is a hit they can't. Every point they score is for the points their injured teammates will never get back this season. This is for them. This humiliation of Chicago was for them. Coach Stephanie White sees it. She said flat out that Hull epitomizes what the Fever want to be. Niorse, resilient and fearless. That's a coach admitting that this brand of tough, sacrificial, revenge-fueled basketball is their new identity. It's the soul of the team, forged in the fires of adversity.
Resilient, nature of our team. I think one other thing that sometimes goes missed is just the character of these women, right? Especially this group that's been here, that's gone through all of this, and then the ones that we've brought in with O and Che and AP. I mean, these are women who care about winning. These are women who care about one another. These are women who sacrifice every.
These are women who care about one another. These are women who sacrifice every single day. That's the truth the league doesn't want you to see. They sold you a rivalry built on two players, Clark and Reese. But when one was injured and the other quit on her team, the real story emerged. It's not about individuals. It's about the character of a team that refused to die, and instead chose to fight. A team that saw their leader get taken out and decided to get revenge on the entire league, starting with the easiest, most dysfunctional target they could find. So the revenge on Chicago is complete. 5 times they were beaten. 5 times they were humiliated. The message was sent and the Fever now control their playoff destiny. But don't you dare think this is over. This wasn't the end of the war. This was just the first battle. They've proven they can win without their superstar. They've proven they are tougher, more unified and more motivated than anyone gave them credit for. They took the league's dismissal of their chances personally, and they've turned that disrespect into fuel. What happens when this battle-tested, bloodied and furious team gets into the playoffs? They aren't just there for the experience. They are on a mission. The revenge tour has just begun, and Chicago was only the first stop. The biggest question isn't if they can win. The question is, who's next on their list? This is what they are capable of when they're broken and counted out. Now just imagine what this team will become when Caitlin Clark is healthy again, when she returns to lead a sisterhood that has been to war for her and come out stronger on the other side. The rest of the WNBA should be terrified. The real story is just beginning.